Welcome back to the Wise Money School here on YouTube. Today's talk was inspired by a coaching session I had with a private client this week. She called me, she and her husband couldn't make a decision, a big financial decision. And so what I'm going to share with you today is more or less what I shared with her earlier this week. So I'm going to talk about three things today. I'm going to share with you the secret to becoming wealthy. And that's what I asked her. The first thing I'd asked is, okay, you've been studying with me for a while now. Let me ask you again, do you want to be wealthy? Do you want to build wealth? Do you want to become financially free? And she said, yes. I'm like, okay, you said that, write that down. The second thing is the definition of wealth. And I gave her a very simple definition of wealth that I think really resonated and had her have her aha moment. And then the third thing I talked about with her is, here's the reason why, despite that you're making close to $500,000, you and your husband are still broke. You're month to month and you're financially stressed out all the time, which is why they came to me, because they're trying to solve that problem. Today's talk is super simple. So have you ever seen a magic trick and it just seems like, oh my God, the magic, how did they do that? And then you learn the trick behind the magic and it's like, really, that's it? So that's what's probably today's talk's going to be like, is that I'm going to share with you the secrets to getting wealth and what wealth is and why you don't have it. And it's going to be so simple. You might be saying, wait a second, there's got to be more. And there's not. My whole purpose of doing this YouTube channel, and please watch as many videos as you can, because my whole goal is to make money, understanding money, financial literacy, financial understanding, wealth creation. My goal is to teach you how simple it really is, because I think so many of us believe that like wealth and money is this hard thing and it needs to be for those advisors and those investors, and that, you know, I'm good at something else and it's not money, so we don't think about it, we don't learn it, we don't gain a skill of it, we abdicate it. Money and wealth is actually very simple. We're just not taught in school, so we don't have a frame of reference to understand the elements of money that we need to know to be able to start using our money to create what's called financial freedom, which hopefully is why you're here. So the first thing here, let me ask you, if you had to sum it up to one sentence, what would you say is the secret to becoming wealthy, financially free, rich, whatever your word for it is? I like the word wealthy versus rich. I actually do a video, the difference between being rich and being wealthy, because I think there's a difference. But sometimes, you know, people think rich and wealthy. Your definition might be the same thing, but I use wealthy. So again, if you had to sum up what is wealthy, or what's the secret to becoming wealthy in one sentence, what would you say? And it really is that simple. It's one sentence. And the secret to becoming wealthy is this. Wait for it. Spend less than you make. So that's part one. The secret to becoming wealthy is to spend less than you make. That's it. That's it. That's the first habit that you have to create for yourself. Spend less than you make. And it doesn't matter how much you're making. This stays forever. When you're first out of college, if you're making $50,000 a year, you spend 40. If you make $100,000 a year, you spend 80. If you make $250 a year, you maybe spend 200. So it doesn't matter, but you've heard me say this before, you always have a delta. So that's part one to getting wealthy, to becoming wealthy. Always, starting today, going for the rest of your life, spend less than you make. And when I go back to my private client, they're at max, like their spending matches their income and then some. Like they have these big bills, they have a tax lien that they still have to figure out how to pay, and meaning they're even in more debts that require that they, you know, have money more than they make, for example. So they're on the wrong side, they're going the wrong direction. But part two is you spend less than you make, then you invest the difference. I'm going to talk about this in a second, but you spend less than you make, you invest the difference. That's it. So if you start doing that today and you do it for the rest of your life, you're going to accumulate wealth. And if you have enough time, you will accumulate enough wealth to become financially free. But you're not going to become wealthy or become financially free if you continue to spend everything you make and you don't invest. So that's That's the secret. Nothing earth-shattering. This has been taught since the beginning of time. I'm not teaching anything brand new here. This is nothing novel. But when I first started studying money, then this was one of my first principles. It's like, oh, because I was in that situation. I was selling real estate. I sold a lot of real estate. I made a really high income, but I was financially stressed out all the time because the more money I made, the more, the more bills I had, and the higher my expenses. And that's called Parkinson's law of money, that says expenses will always rise to match income. So that's it. Easy peasy. So what are you going to do today to start putting this principle into practice? We'll talk about that in a second. So the next thing is what's the definition of wealth? And again, if we're going to give the definition in one sentence, I can give lots of definitions of wealth that are probably a little bit more lengthy, maybe a little bit more of a paragraph versus a sentence. But I love this definition I'm going to share with you. And this comes from an author. His name is Morgan Housel, and he wrote a book called The Psychology of Money. Great book. And when I read the book, this is like, oh my God, that's so simple. And for me, simple is better. My brain can understand simple concepts. So what he says in his book, The Psychology of Money, is what wealth is money you haven't spent yet. Money you haven't spent yet. Hopefully never. But easy, right? I love this definition. Let's think about this. Wealth is money you haven't spent. And what that means is it's money that you didn't spend on the bigger house. It's money you didn't spend on the brand new car because you have to have a new car every few years. It's the money you didn't spend on the fancy clothes. It's the money you didn't spend on the fancy watches. It's the money you didn't spend on throwing money, loads of money eating out or having big parties or events or you name it. But easy, like let's break down these two definitions again. So simple. How do you become wealthy? Spend less than you make and invest the difference. What's the definition of wealth? The wealth is the money you haven't spent. So when we break it down, would you say that we can all build wealth? We can all become wealthy? Because these things are in our control. So my question then is, why isn't everybody wealthy when it's this simple? And I take that to the third thing when I was talking to my private client. I was breaking down like, hey, we've been talking about this and studying this. You told me you want to be wealthy, so we have to rearrange your finances so that you spend less than you make. Hence, maybe we need to sell the house. And the definition of wealth is money you haven't spent yet, but you're spending everything that you make, so there's no wealth in sight. So we're going to have to change that if we want to get to the place that you're on the track to become financially free, which you just wrote down and promised me that's your number one goal. So then I asked her, I'm like, okay, obviously these are pretty simple concepts, but what is it that's keeping you in this predicament where, you're stressed out because you're making all this money, but you don't have any wealth. You're not creating wealth. And in fact, you're going in the red versus building in the black. And I said, and give me one word. So she's saying, well, my parents this and friends that, or husband. And, she was on the right track when she was trying to get to the bottom of why she's not been able to do this. But I said, it's really one word. And that one word is envy. And it's this word, envy. It's so powerful. So here's the thing, like a majority of everyone in this country, or in the Western world at least, a vast majority are going to die broke. And what a shame. Like, none of us need to die broke. Sometimes there's life circumstances and things that take us out. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about in general. So when building wealth, becoming wealthy, becoming financially free is as easy as spend less than you make and invest the difference. And it's as easy as your wealth is the money you haven't spent, which means don't spend everything. And all of that is 100% in our control in most circumstances, taking out the emergencies and things that just can't be predicted. So the reason why the vast majority, and it might be you, which might be why you're here, it's certainly been me in the past, it's most people that I coach and talk to and teach in my money school and why my money school exists, but it's because of the societal pressure. There's a societal pressure to keep up with the Joneses, and we've heard this before. But it's not just keeping up with the Joneses, but again, when I was talking to my client, she was just being honest and saying, yeah, this house, I really care what other people think. And we worked really hard to buy this house and live in this particular neighborhood. And all of our friends do drive these types of cars. And I have a certain image when it comes to my work. So I think I need to dress a certain way and have certain jewelry and so on and so forth. So that's part of it, is part of like that fitting in. And I was talking about this in my money school this past week in our office hours, our live call to the group. And I said just that, is that to be these two things is that we have to get over this need or this care of what other people think, this need to fit in, and this need to fit in through what's called materialism. Bigger houses, bigger cars, more jewelry, so on and so forth, however that looks to you. But it's that, and it's even more, is because yeah, we want to fit in and drive the same things and to live in the same houses and neighborhoods and wear the same jewelry and clothing and labels and so on and so forth. But sometimes it's even more than that, is that we want to one-up our neighbors. We want our car just to be a little bit nicer. We want our house to be just a little bit bigger. We want our jewelry to be a little bit flashier. We want our wedding ring to have a bigger rock, or whatever the case is. So, and that's called envy. And this type of envy, it never changes. And so the thing is if you have envy at $50,000 a year, being envious of those making 100 and wanting that life, and then you make 100 and then you buy that same lifestyle, the next step is you're going to envy those that are making more, and then you're going to work hard and be up to there. But it doesn't stop at the 250. Now you've got friends making $1 million and they're talking about their life and what they're doing for $1 million. So now you envy that lifestyle. Now you're making $1 million, but still not good enough. And this will go on and on and on and on. And you will stay broke because you'll always spend up to that next level of lifestyle. So these are the three things, is that building wealth is so simple, but you have to get over the envy. You have to not care about what other people think to be able to fit in based on material things, and start changing up the values. And the value has to change from, hey, I want to, outdo my neighbors and friends, which that's probably the truth deep down, to I want to be financially free. I want to have my time. I want to have options. I want to have control over what I do with my time. I want more autonomy. And it's kind of an either or. So you have to just decide which one is it, which one at the end of the day is more important to you. And when we take all this, it breaks down to what I call ESI. And ESI is this fundamental framework that I teach my students, and it's like the fundamental foundation of everything that I teach. So I thought I would share it with you here because I think it really fits with this kind of these definitions. But the first thing is that there's these three categories of money, I guess is the way I'll describe it. And these three parts of money are something that we need to think about and focus on our entire working career. And what E stands for is E stands for earn. And so as we go through life, we're earning money. And yeah, the goal is to continue to improve our skills, to be able to bring more value, to be able to make more impact, and ultimately to make more money. So that's earning, and earning is how we make money. So your earning that's how you make money, and how much money you make based on your working. It's your working income. And if you work for a corporation, you give skills and value and you get compensated a salary. If you're a business owner, you give value out to your potential customers and to your clients, and then they reciprocate and they pay you for the value that you and your business offer. But that's how we make money, and it based on our skill level and our value, typically that dictates how much money we can make. But that's all in the game. So while we're in this game of earning, which is usually about 40 years of our life, by let's say 30 to 70 or 25 to 65-ish, there's this 40-year span of working income. And over that time, this is how we make our money, and we want to make more money as time goes on. The second piece of money then is once we make it, we spend it. And this is your business or the company you work for. This is what I call your household. So if you have a business, this is your business bank account. If you have a household, this is your household account. So what we're doing is we're making money over here somewhere based on the value, and now we're moving money from here and we're depositing it into your household account. But that's your household. So your household is where you spend all of your money. You don't spend your money at your company, you spend the money you make in your household. So here, this is how you spend, this is where you spend your money. And the problem is that you're spending all the money that you make based on this lifestyle that equals the cost of that lifestyle, all of your expenses, all of the total cost of your bills every single month. But so here, this is how we make our money. This is how we keep our money. So they're distinct, right? I want you to think about these differently. How I make money and how much money I make. Over here, this is where I spend my money, all that money on the lifestyle. But the purpose of this, what we want to pay attention to, where we're trying to grow our earnings over time here, we're looking at how much money I keep right here. And that's the differential. So right here, we earn money, we spend money. But when we go spend less than you make and invest the difference, that's how you build wealth. So it's the difference between these two pieces. It's the differential or delta between the money you make and the money you spend, meaning how much money do you keep. So let's just say that we earn $10,000, let's say after taxes, and we spend $8,000 on our lifestyle, which means we have $2,000 that we keep. So that's the purpose of this S, is to focus on spending and where all of our money goes, which is what I teach through all my programs, is we get very clear with all the spending and we change our spending and our spending behaviors and our psychology around spending so that we're keeping a portion of what we make and making this decision. So this is the money that you keep. Now, that's this difference, right? Spend less than you make. But now you have to invest the difference. And so this 2,000 goes over here, and this is how you invest. So this 2,000 goes over here. So it's 2,000 every month forever. And the more money you make, that should go up over time. It should be a percentage of your income, 15 to 20% of your gross income. And then you put this to work and it starts compounding. Because the secret, the true secret to wealth, and the reason why this is the only way to become wealthy, is because you have to invest, because it's not the investing that makes you wealthy. Your investing is the practice or behavior that the behavior in is saving, and then it's investing and put the money somewhere. But that's the practice that makes you wealthy, but that's not the wealth. The wealth comes from the compounding. It's the percentage, the interest that's building and compounding and growing and growing and growing and growing over time. So this is it. On one page, I just taught you the secret to building wealth and become financially free. It's really no more complicated than that. But here's maybe a caveat. I teach money management, I teach people how to get rich, I teach people how to get wealthy, I have a money school, I have free programs, I have this YouTube, this is what I do every single day of my life. It's what I do, what I teach as a business, it's what I do personally. And out of all the stuff that I'm teaching, inevitably, what's the question I get asked? People, it's like they'll throw all this out the window. So they'll be like, yeah, Krisstina, that's great. But I want to ask you this, like, when are you going to teach me how to invest? And I'm like, what? That's the wrong question, because first of all, until you're doing this really well, you'll never have money to invest, because there's this belief that investing is the secret. Where to invest is the secret weapon. Where to invest is what makes you wealthy. And I don't know what's out there in the universe that's like putting into our brain, this is what makes us wealthy, is where to invest. Because even that's a myth. That's a myth, is that the part of the reason why we believe that where we invest is what makes us wealthy. And so it causes two things. That mythical belief causes two things. Number one, it causes us to never invest because we're waiting for the right place to invest. So I'm like, I'm not going to invest now. Whether or not I have any savings, I'm not going to invest now because I'm afraid to put it in the wrong place, or I don't know where to invest, or I don't know the best place to invest. And so this is two situations. One, you don't have this money this delta that you've been investing. But two, I work with so many people. Interestingly enough, it's primarily women. A lot of my women clients, they actually have built these great businesses, and they actually are sitting on $100,000 cash, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash. And that cash makes them feel secure, but it doesn't make them wealthy. They're not going to get wealthy. They're going to work their asses off for this career, have some cash, but that cash isn't compounding. They're going to realize, like, oh my God, I lost wealth, because wealth is created in the compounding. It's over here on this percentage. So whether either camp, if you're in the camp and don't have money, you need to start saving money to be able to invest. But the key is that you have to invest to be able to build wealth, and you have to take advantage of compounding. And where you invest, don't want this to be a buzzkill, but it really doesn't matter. So that's part one, is that believing like where we invest matters keeps people from investing. Or two, it creates them to be gamblers. And what I mean by gamblers is like, oh, what's the next stock pick? What's the next stock that's going to double in price? What's trending right now? Or maybe get into day trading. And it is just many cases like a form of gambling, like you're betting on the big win, the get rich quick. If I just have the right inside knowledge, then that's what's going to make me rich. It's getting on a bandwagon of crypto, when back a couple years ago, everybody was a crypto expert and everybody was, getting rich off crypto. And then all of a sudden it changed and everybody stopped teaching crypto. Like you didn't even hear any programs of crypto. But a lot of that says where to invest, this get rich quick type of thing. And I teach, you get wealthy slowly. I mean, you build wealth over time. It's get rich slow is the slogan. And to go back is to the reason why it doesn't matter where you invest, because how you win at the investing game is something called time. And it's basically saying that if you get average returns, so just average stock market returns, what I mean by that is if you do nothing else but put your money into an index fund, get rid of the advisors that are charging you 2 or 3%, 3% between hidden, disclosed fees and hidden fees. Get rid of them, throw it in an index fund, and get average returns over the life cycle. So how you build wealth and get rich, get wealthy, it's getting average returns for an unaveraged period of time. That means where everybody else is, maybe they're putting money in, pull money out, you keep putting it in there and letting it grow. And if you let your money grow, if you consistently put in this amount every month and every year and let it grow, and you get average returns, doesn't matter, just put in an index fund. That's the easiest place to do this without knowing any type of investing knowledge whatsoever. You do that for 20, 30 years, you will have wealth. You'll be probably in the top 2 to 3, 4, 5% of best investors that have accumulated the most amount of money over a period of time. So to summarize that is, where you invest really doesn't matter. You don't have to get crazy returns if you have the time. And that's the secret to all of this, is time, time, time. And that's why you want to start this today. So you have the next 20 years, you have the next 30 years. My goodness, somebody starts at 25 and they have 40 years, game over. They're going to have all the money they want by the time they hit some of these retirement ages. So to summarize this, I'm just going to go back to money's simple. We don't have to know the best stock. We don't have to know the best investment. We don't have to have any type of insider knowledge. The secret to getting rich is time. And if you listen to me, you listen to others, we're really all saying the same thing. We maybe just be saying it in a different way. But the key is two things. One, you have to want it so bad, financial freedom. That's the number one goal. That's the number one value, to have wealth, to have time, to have that future self that doesn't have to worry about money. You have to want that. And you have to want that more than being envious. You have to want that more than caring what your neighbors think. You have to want that more than comparing yourself to everyone at the neighborhood or your friend's party. That's the way it works. And it's not easy because these societal pressures are real. They are biological, they're societal, they're psychological, they're all the things. So regardless of how easy this is, so few people do it. But I hope that you are going to be one of the small percentage that actually puts these very simple financial principles to work. So that's my talk for today. Again, that came out of a coaching session where we talked about all of this. And the next video I'm going to talk about is where I just said that it doesn't matter where you invest. Well, let me finish off with saying one thing. Like, it doesn't matter where you invest. To win the game, like I said, it's average. You're going to win average returns, being consistent with your investing over an unaverage period of time, which is 20, 30 years that very few people do or more. So that's going to make you wealthy. Now, if you want to shrink the time, of how long that will take, or you want to produce, even bigger wealth at the end, then yes, like we talked about in the rule of 72, the interest based on the interest rate you get dictates how fast you build your wealth. And how I've built my wealth is I built my income and built high incomes through my businesses. And how I built my wealth was through real estate. So if you want to beat the average returns, not gambling, you're still in that 20, 30 plus year game, but then you might want to get skilled at some type of investing. And I've loved real estate since I was, since I can remember. And so real estate is how I've built my net worth. But I've been doing it for 20 years, for example, and over 20 years, it's been quite, it's an accumulation of a lot of wealth. But my passion was to learn real estate, to become a really savvy real estate investor, and I'm still an investor, and it's still what I do. So that's the next option. Again, like if you want to invest time and energy and money into learning a specific investing skill, that can shrink the time or increase the amount over the same period of time. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because in the next video, I'm going to share my 3 real estate secrets, like my 3 rules of real estate that I've followed since the beginning of time that's allowed me to win pretty big in the real estate game. All right, that's all I've got for today. Do your subscribe and your likes and share it with a friend. If you want to learn just a few little simple tips about real estate, be sure to watch the next video. If not, I'll see you next time.